So the next play that we're going to go over from the gun tight offset tight end play is called Saints In. This is a really underrated play. Most of the time, our opponent is going to be so worried about this wire triangle receiver from the Y out HB swing play that he's going to be on the left side of the field. He's not really going to be doing hard flats because that's going to leave that wire triangle receiver wide open. So all we really have to do for this play to work is put this A or X receiver, who's normally a tight end, but we have a receiver subbed in there, on an out route. Now, one other thing you can do is do something like this, which is you're going to have a high-low read now on this side, and the running back coming in underneath. But the first read is always going to be this A or X receiver. And if he has decent route running, ideally he could have something like an in-out specialist ability, but if he has decent route running, he's going to get wide open because most of the time that's not going to be a cornerback or covering him. It's usually going to be like a linebacker or a safety. And then we can just hit this guy every single time. It doesn't look like much, but what that does is it essentially forces your opponent into hard flats, or it's going to make your opponent use the right side of the field, which is exactly what we want because most of the time we're going to be attacking this left side of the field. The reason this play works, and it's very important, I'll probably go over it in a little bit more detail later, is this B receiver's route. So you have this B or circle receiver running that like angle route, but because he kind of goes to the sideline first and then cuts up, it's going to hold any like purple zone or light blue zone with him instead of crashing down on this A receiver. So if this B receiver was like on a streak, they would just basically ignore him and go out there and cover the A receiver. But since he kind of angles out first, he angles out just enough for our opponent to have to cover that. And then we'll just sneak the A receiver in underneath. If it's man-to-man coverage, the out does a great job, and you have plenty of room because it's kind of a compressed set. And again, that guy's supposed to be a tight end, so it really works well. You can see we can just do this all day. Only way really to stop this is hard flats or to user it. If they're using the right side of the screen or using hard flats, that is an overall win. It's usually pretty easy to tell if our opponent is in hard flats. And then we just don't make the throw. If we see the hard flats, that's generally going to mean that the wire triangle receiver is going to be open. So we see the hard flats, we don't throw to the A receiver, which means our Y receiver is going to be open. If they have hard flats and they use that Y receiver, then that RB running back coming underneath is going to be open. The other thing is this B receiver runs a really good route against like cover 3 and cover 4. He usually has a little bit of a window where he's going to get open as well. But the main read here is just always take your like 6 to 8 yards with this quick out route, and it's really going to help progress this offense. So you can see here's just random plays, but there hasn't been a play so far that's been able to even come close to stopping it. This is kind of our other go-to play from this formation. It's a really underutilized play. No one really ever runs this play, but I don't know why, because it's almost impossible to stop if you're doing it right now. That time I just wasn't really paying attention to the end dropping off. Something you should be aware of, maybe a defensive lineman dropping into coverage. But man-to-man coverage or zone coverage, as long as there's not hard flats, that guy's going to get open. Now, if you just have a truly terrible receiver there, which you shouldn't, because it's going to be your number one receiver, but if he was terrible and they had like an elite cornerback over him for whatever reason, in man-to-man coverage, maybe he doesn't get open. But I'd say like 95% of the time that guy's going to get open in man coverage. So if there were hard flats, you'll kind of just have to imagine it, because I'm not necessarily going to show you the hard flats. We're just going to look to this left side or to this B receiver. So that B receiver, I know it doesn't look like much. I could throw it probably 75% of the time. Man coverage, zone coverage, doesn't really matter. He's usually open as well. So we'll just fit it in there. You're going to lead pass to the middle of the field. It can be somewhat dangerous if your opponent is just really chilling in the middle of the field. You could kind of get lurked underneath. But for the most part, it's deep enough that it's not really going to get stopped. And then don't forget about the high-low read on the other side. You have this high-low read, and then if they're both covered for whatever reason, then you just look to this guy coming kind of from the middle to that side as well. So you can throw that one if it's there. If it's not there and he's covered, you wait for the wire triangle receiver to break. This is a really hard play to stop consistently, especially when you mix it in with the other plays from this formation. You can see I was trying to throw the running back there. He's wide open. I just waited a little too long. But anytime you see a blitz or anything like that, you're just going to do a quick throw to this guy anyway. So you can see you have a lot of really good options on this play. And don't forget, if they are in hard flats, just go ahead and hit this wire triangle receiver. They shouldn't be in hard flats really ever though, because then we'll just audible to this play and we'll absolutely torch them deep.